Today we're going to talk about how to get a perfectly straight stitch on your sewing machine. A lot of people say, I don't even know how to sew a straight line. Well, there's no more excuse for it now because you're going to watch this video and learn how. First of all, my main tip for you is do not watch your needle. I'm going to show you a few tricks today. We're going to watch guides that will guide our fabric through the sewing machine, and we're not going to watch our needle at all, even though our needle is the thing that's making the straight stitch. There are lines on the throat plate of your sewing machine that you can use to help guide you when you are following your seam allowances. On this baby lock, the bobbin case cover actually has some guidelines on it. Sometimes these lines can be sort of hard to see, so I'd encourage you to use any tools that might help you, like a piece of painter's tape. Right now, I'm going to put the painter's tape on the 5/8 inch mark here, okay? And you can really use that painter's tape as a guide to slide your fabric along while you're sewing, like this. To get a nice good straight seam, just put your fabric right along the edge of that painter's tape. I'm not watching my needle, I'm watching the edge of the fabric against the painter's tape, and that's going to give me my straightest seam. There we go. Back stitch a little bit. All right, see there, we've got a great straight seam that is parallel to the edge of our fabric. When you're sewing around a curve, it's nice to know where your needle is going to be inserted. So put your needle down and raise your presser foot, use a ruler, and mark a little mark on your painter's tape right where your needle's gonna hit. So there's my little painter's tape mark. Don't mark on your sewing machine, everybody. Okay, so if I'm sewing around a curve, like this one, I know, oh, put your needle up. I know that my mark on my painter's tape right there is what's gonna give me the 5/8 inch seam allowance on my fabric, on my project. So, you know, your curve is not always going to meet up with your painter's tape perfectly. You can stop with your needle down, raise your presser foot, and pivot the fabric if you're getting off a little bit. Go as slow as you need to around these curves, but see, I'm making sure that mark lines up with the mark on my painter's tape. Okay? And if you get a little off, just correct yourself. It also helps to shorten your stitch length when going around a curve. And show that fabric who's boss. Right, there we go. Back stitch. And we've got our perfect curve on our seam allowance. Now we're going to talk about the edge stitch foot. This is the Baby Lock edge joining foot and the Bernina edge stitch foot, number 10. These feet serve the same purposes, they're just for two different brands of machines. Notice how the opening in the foot is wide enough to allow for the full stitch width, okay? And the guide goes down the center of the foot, but it doesn't interrupt that space there, allowing you to do decorative stitches or straight stitches in several different positions and still use that guide. Here we have the guide of our edge stitch foot right along that center seam that I stitched earlier, and our needle is in the center position. So we're going to do what's called stitching in the ditch. Normally you do this with a thread that matched the fabric, but this is for instructional purposes, and we're going to see just how straight we can get. Just keep that guide running right along that line. Don't look at your needle. Don't be tempted. I love this foot. I can't live without it. May have said that before. All right, we get the end there. And we have a perfectly straight line. You wouldn't see it if it was done with the same color thread. So if you're stitching in the ditch to secure a seam or on a quilt or something, that would be great. Now also, if you want to create a parallel line, if you want to stabilize your seam on the side or something, once again, have that guide right along the edge, but then change your needle position. So I'm putting my needle all the way over to the right. Gonna put my thread to the side here. And I'm going to get a perfectly parallel stitch here just by using the edge stitch foot and putting the guide right along that sewing line I just did. You can do this to stabilize seams. It's also wonderful for understitching. If you ever have to understitch anything, use your edge stitch foot. Fabulous. And there we go. 2 perfectly parallel lines of stitching because I used my edge stitch foot. Okay, so our secrets to success today for sewing a straight seam were painter's tape and the edge joining or edge stitching foot. Good luck on sewing your straight seams.